Welcome back. The big question is, IOC's divestment, is this an opportunity for indigenous oil firms? Joining us to make sense of this is Balazaka, oil and gas analyst. Hello, sir. Good to have you join us today.
Thank you, and I greet all the viewers across the globe.
All right. Now, there have been conversations about the heightened pressure for international oil companies to leave Africa. What could be responsible for that, and what's this pressure about?
Okay, thank you for that excellent question. You said international oil companies. From your description, that means these companies are not nationals of the areas where they are operating. In other words, when you are talking about Nigeria, the owners of the company are not Nigerians, and probably their headquarters or reporting office is not in Nigeria. And when you extend it to Africa also, the owners of the companies are not probably Africans, or even if they are Africans, they are not residents in Africa, and their reporting office is somewhere outside Africa. So when you look at it from that angle, it will not be out of question, or it will not be wrong if you say international oil companies came to Nigeria or Africa because they saw Nigeria or Africa as an investment destination. That means they are investors. So everywhere you find investors, especially private investors, they are supposed to go invest their funds to maximize profit. And there are so many sources of funds, but I can talk about two. Investors like oil and gas companies or international oil companies that in the course of this discussion I will be using the acronym IOCs for, are likely to have two sources of funds. One is loans. The other one is shareholder funds. When an investor goes to collect loans, either from a bank or wherever or whichever financial institution, that investor is expected to pay what we call cost of capital or interest. And that means the moment you are an investor and you go to collect funds or loans, that means the creditor will expect you to come and pay interest. And that means you just need to use the funds very well so that you can get your capital, make some profit, and pay your creditor. Another source of fund for investors is what we call shareholder funds, which means the company is owned by shareholders. When they give out the funds, their expectation is that the funds will be used, generate profit, and at the end of the day, they will get what we call dividend. And it is on that basis that investors will make sure any investment haven they want to go to, whether into Africa or into Nigeria, at the end of the day, they will want to break even, they will want to make some profit, so that at the end of the day, they will be able to pay the capital that they collected as loans and probably the interest. And
all right, if I get you correctly,
they should be able to pay shareholders their dividends.
If I get you correctly, let me come in here. If I get you correctly, you're trying to say that the problem here, or one of the challenges here, is finance or profit making. Is that what you're saying?
Not finance, but yes, they are not making profit. They are not breaking even. That is the reason. But I can summarize it and use a phrase like business climate hostilities.
Now let's break this down. Let's break this down. When you talk about business climate hostility. That's a word that's been thrown around a lot these days. You know, a lot of persons talk about business climate and all of that. But in this case, in the case of these IOCs, what are these challenges? First, you've talked about not making profit, not breaking even. What are these other challenges that would precipitate such a move?
Simple. The answer, that was why, first of all, I used a phrase or a pregnant phrase like business climate hostility. The first thing that is happening is this. They are experiencing insecurity. A lot of them are having issues with insecurity. Their staff are being killed in the field. They are losing their equipment. They are also having problems with thieves and vandals. When you hear people talking about all those illegal refiners and refineries, like I keep saying, those people are not even illegal refiners because they don't have refineries, they are thieves. And what they do is they steal the equipment of these international oil companies. They break the pipelines, and in the process of breaking the pipelines, the investors may lose the gas there, or they may lose the crude oil or whatever product that is in the pipelines. So those are the things that are happening. Then apart from that, again, sometimes there is what we call delay in contract cycles. Sometimes it takes a very long time before they get approval for licenses. And for somebody who collected loans, the banks will keep, interest will keep piling in the banks or in where your creditor is. And for those who are relying on shareholders' funds, the shareholders will keep calling the directors and saying, we are not seeing dividends. What is happening?
Let me come in here. All right, now that you've talked about a lot of these challenges, one would expect that the federal government would make the climate more conducive, more convenient, because these are people who are actually investing in the country. So what are the things that, what do you think the government has done so far to make the environment conducive for these people? Is it that government isn't even doing anything at all?
Well, the government has been trying. When you go to the operating areas, if it is on land, you will see maybe military personnel there. And if it is in swamp or around the deep offshore, you are likely to see naval personnel. The government is trying, but let's be very frank and practical as Nigerians here. Our farmers say in Nigeria, why are we almost about to start having food crisis? It's because even local farmers cannot go to the farm because of insecurity. Why are many people now trying to pay any amount to fly, despite the flight delays and the high cost of aviation fuel? It's because the roads are not safe. That is just the truth. So when you look at it from that angle, to be fair to the government has not even been able to take care of our own citizens due to insecurity. So to what extent can they even take care of the assets of investors? You know, so the government is trying, but the hostilities are there. You know, and I talk about also licenses. Then also for those that have what we call joint venture relationships with the government, sometimes there is delay in what we call cash calls. In cash call arrangement, maybe they jointly execute projects or activities that have to do with the oil and gas. And if the money they are expecting do not come on time, they get frustrated. And that's why we classify everything as business climate hostilities. Then there is also this issue of corruption. When their equipment comes in, we are meant to understand that sometimes at the borders, whether you call them at the port or through the airport, there is always extortion by the agencies of government that are in those places. So the issues are many. They are also suffering from the same diesel problem that we are suffering from, because they need to maintain their equipment, they need to maintain their facilities, they need to maintain their accommodation.
All right,
They
let's
are
look at
also
what the federal government is saying now. Now, the federal government has described the divestment by international oil companies from the Nigerian oil and gas sector as a threat to the industry. How is this so?
Well, it cannot be a threat. It is a threat to the survival of Nigeria's economy, especially because when those investors leave, of course, the revenues that Nigerian government is accruing from the relationship is likely to be lost. Whether you are talking about from the joint, whether the revenues are from joint operations or from taxes and levies. Because those companies are paying their taxes and levies. And remember, they employ so many Nigerians. So if they fire all those Nigerians, the personal income tax, which is the tax that employees pay, will not be there. And if that stream of income is not coming or revenue, Nigeria will be the one to lose. And by the time they go away, the taxes they are supposed to be paying to the Nigerian government will be lost. And it will also cause economic threats because the volume of production that crude oil or gas production that Nigeria is supposed to be producing to meet up, especially in terms of crude oil, to meet up with the OPEC quota will go down. The volume of crude oil production that we need to be able to meet up with our budget benchmark will also go down. So when you look at the overall effect, it will be a threat. But when you call it a threat to the economy, it doesn't mean it is like a physical threat like fight. But it technically means there will be further dwindling of the revenues that will be accruing to the government of Nigeria.
All right, now let's look at, you just said a lot of things, how this is going to be a threat to several areas of the economy and all of that. Is there a way the federal government can actually cushion this effect?
Well, the government can come in so many ways. You know, a government is a government. And that is why most of the time, when things are not going well or right in the country, people blame it on the government. Because it is the government that has the power to make sure the right things are done. And remember, when you say government is a collection of citizens, but this time around, all leaders, where ordinary citizens like you and I or others have decided to hand over our economic, political, and social destiny for them to manage. And that simply means once we give them the power, they can manage it. That means it is their responsibility to make sure there are rules.
Exactly. So we're looking at how they can actually cushion this effect. Yeah, go ahead. I'm saying we're looking at how the effects of this can be cushioned. The federal government had actually made a suggestion saying that the indigenous oil producers should see these divestments as an opportunity for them. Do you agree with the federal government on that?
No, it's not correct now. What can you say? The reason why the international oil companies are going is because of difficult operating terrain. The business climate is harsh. If international oil companies that have more money, they have more connections to be able to get funds or capital are running away because of local hostility. There is no way indigenous companies will survive. Let's be practical, but you know, let's also let me talk now as a loyal citizen. I will not expect the government of my country to come and say, no, the international oil companies are running away because we have failed them. I will not expect Nigerian companies to come and say that the international oil companies are running away because there is serious coronavirus in Nigeria or the Russian-Ukraine crisis is affecting them in Nigeria. They will always want to say something that will be positive or will give hope. But the truth is, these companies are moving away because of climate hostility. And remember, like I said, even the money they are investing does not belong to them. The money they are investing belongs to creditors like financial institutions like banks, or the money belongs to shareholders. This is what we should understand. So anywhere you see somebody using funds that belong to shareholders or creditors, and the person is running away from that environment, it is because the environment is harsh. he or she may not be able to break even and provide dividends.
All right, Mr. Bala.
The capital and the interest.
If you can hear me, I am looking at, in wrapping up in just about 30 seconds or less, how can this impact or the effect of these divestments be cushioned? What can be done to reduce the impact? Because we know it's going to have a lot of impact, ripple effect on the Nigerian economy, but then how can it be cushioned?
Well, it is the government. It still goes back to the government and by extension our leaders. Let there be enhanced security. Let the roads be good for trucking and movement of goods and services. Let there be electricity so that energy costs will go down. Let government come out with fiscal policies and monetary policies that will reduce the inflation. Because if the inflation goes down, workers will cope. But if the inflation keeps rising, workers will keep disturbing their employers that they need more salary. And if the employers will not be able to meet up, the workers will disrupt the activities of their employers.
All right, thank you so much.
The government has the power to implement this.
Thank you so much. I think this is a good place to anchor. Thank you so much for your thoughts on the show, Mr. Balazaka.
Thank you.
Well, okay. We've been speaking to Balazaka, and of course, he's an oil and gas analyst. And moving on, still to come after the break, 40% of Nigerian households spend $14 billion on fuel, well, to fuel their generator annually. This is according to reports by Steers and Sterling on the Africa's most populous country's power sector. That's our next talking point. Stay with us. We'll take a break, and when we return, we'll get to that conversation.